Hi, I'm Jeff Miller.
I'm Anthony Navarro, and welcome to Talk Out Loud, where we share the LGBTQIA+ narrative one story at a time. On this episode of Talk Out Loud, we're here with Harma Hartouni. Harma is a self-made entrepreneur, proud husband, father, and survivor. Born in the US and raised in Iran, Harma learned at a young age that he needed to rely on himself. After surviving a tragic accident, came with the opportunity to move to the United States. Once arriving in LA, he began to embrace the gay man that he was and live from the inside out. This would lead him to become a successful business owner and create a family of his own. Harma has embraced the challenges that he's faced and used that tenacity to continue to move his life forward. He talks about his life story in his new book, Getting Back Up, a story of resilience, self-acceptance, and success. And today, we're just scratching the surface of his journey. Let's hear Harma's story.
Well, we are in for a special treat today. We are here with Harma Hartouni, who is the author of Getting Back Up, a story of resilience, self-acceptance, and success. Harma, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here with us. I just want to say that your emotional intelligence is something that I admire, and I'm really just so feel really fortunate to share your story with some of our listeners, just to benefit from the way you've learned to live your life. And I think the best way is to kind of start off with, telling a little bit of your story today. So that being said, we're here in LA, virtually the three of us. You were born in LA, but you didn't stay here for too long. Where did you take off to after that?
I was 30 days old and my mom moved back to Iran, or some people call it Iran. So we moved back and I never came back until I was 19.
So that right there alone is something that some people never will experience in a lifetime. And can we talk a little bit about like family? Like what was it like growing up in Iran, and what was your family dynamic like?
My parents are Armenian. They're not Muslim from Iran. Although Armenians, they're like in different countries, right? They migrated and they stayed there, and they're Armenians from Iran. So my mom moved back because my dad was there, and she was told by my father that you move back because wife will listen to the husband and husband decides all of it. And you don't hear stories people come here and then move back, especially to third world countries. You hear the other way around, not to mention it's exactly when the revolution just happened. So when my mom arrived, they took the passports away, the American passports away from me, from mine and my mom. And that's when exactly the revolution just happened, and all the women had no right. And what happened, all the men will make any decision. Even if the woman had their own passport, they couldn't leave the country. So that was just kind of psychologically blocked. You would not leave this country until my dad will say it's okay, which was the reason I was never allowed to leave, because my dad was not a big fan of the United States. He felt here he's no one, let's just say, and it's ironically, I understand it, and I don't agree with it, but I understand it. I grew up in Iran. My mom was clever enough to get pregnant and come here and have my sister. And so we were U.S. citizen while we were living in Iran. Always dreamt about what is California look like, or what is, I only got candies from my grandmother sent to us, and we didn't even have candies there. So it was like shocking. And grew up with an Armenian school. Growing up, I always thought something is wrong with me. I was just feminine, I guess, or I was attracted to men. Didn't know. I thought I'm sick. And gone through my own journey. In the book, I explained that, some of it. Watching my dad has shaped my life growing up. Extremely intelligent businessman with very high level of work ethics when it comes to working hard, but not the best leader, I will say. And at age of 18, when I had a car accident, I hit a car. And then I walked out of my car. Another car hit me, and my both legs broke, and I couldn't walk for 11 months. And I moved to the US with a walker, couldn't speak a word of English. My passport had no stamp on it. So They took me on the side. They were shocked that a Middle Eastern man is coming in with the American passport with no stamps on. So he has, I've never used it to leave the country. So they couldn't understand that. And I couldn't speak English. So
Hmm.
it was not long. They figured out what happened, but then, and then I never moved back. And then my journey started here.
Hmm.
Yeah. So the first 19 years of your life, I mean, besides the 30 days you had here in LA, then you go back to Iran, and you spend the first 19 years of your life back
Mhm.
there growing up, and it's interesting. You talked about the dynamic with your father, and in your book, you really you have this way of reliving and going through some pretty challenging moments. You approach it from this perspective of not as a victim, but just as of life and trying to figure things out. And I see like how well that has served you in your life. I don't assume to understand relationships between people, like between parents and siblings and families, but I see the freedom it's given you in the way that you've approached your life. And part of you talked about that accent that you were in, and I think for so the listeners to understand is that at a young age you there was an Armenian cultural center in
Mhm.
Tehran, I believe,
Mhm.
and
Correct.
you really found solace in dance, and you found an instructor who really believed in you and just kind of like filled up your cup, and then you were able to spread your wings, and you really flourished in that. Can you talk about like the importance of having someone and what that was for you, like having that teacher, and having that outlet for you, maybe having a situation that wasn't the best at home with your father?
Yes, I was kind of obsessed with her because I felt she's the only one who understands me. Because no, going back now, I think she knew that I was different, and she knew that's okay, but no one else did.
Hmm.
And we never talked about it because I didn't know. I just thought I will marry a woman, have kids, and then sleep with men on the side. That's just the way it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
And then she just knew something about me. And so I was very drawn to her, like a BFF kind, And at one point, even her husband was very angry and jealous
Hmm.
because I was just always want to be with her. Nothing, obviously, I was young and nothing sexual. It was just like she could see me, and I think that even helped me in my life and my career because sometimes you just have that connection. You meet someone new and just like, what is this? Like you feel it.
Hmm.
So she had it with me, and I developed that with others, which I had no idea that's called gaydar in LA, but at back home it's like she felt it. And if I didn't have her, I don't know if I could go through the high school and, you know,
Hmm.
with the things that every year I had to struggle knowing that I'm still loved because I know my mom loved me, and she most probably knew in some levels. And but yeah, it's very lonely, and I can only imagine how many people right now they can't even read my story, listen to this,
Yeah.
and they will benefit from this because it's pretty lonely out there, especially in countries like that. So yeah, she had a big impact on my life.
Yeah, you do this wonderful job of painting your life growing up in the book. You do talk a lot about your family life and how it seems like there was a lot of love from your mom, from your dad. It just was not a great situation. And it's so important for young people to have mentors in their lives. I know, like for myself, so like your dance teacher was probably my theater teacher, where
Hmm.
I just always wanted to be, after rehearsals or after tryouts, I just wanted to be with her because the conversations that we were having and the things that she were teaching, and probably like your guide,
Hmm.
she sort of had this intuition. I mean,
Hmm.
young boy in the theater program, probably something, there. But
Yeah.
it's really important to be able to have that outlet. And I think, what you just said in terms of, your story being able to reach even more people, there's been a lot of conversations happening over the past, I'd say, 4 or 5 months with the new launch of the app Clubhouse. And, Jeff and I have been pretty active on there listening to people all over the world talking. And you're right. I feel like, especially being in Los Angeles, especially being in West Hollywood, we sort of forget we kind of live in this bubble where there are people that are in hiding for their lives right now all over the world because of who they are, because they're, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. It's it's crazy to see that, or to realize that that is what's happening. And you do such a great job in the book painting this way of realization where it's also not just something that happens overnight, that as you have to go through a process. And I think today we're so ingrained in technology where we have all of this information at our fingertips, but we have to remember that coming into our own is a process, and that for some people it may be real easy, and for other people it may take a little bit of time. So I think your story does, it just does such a great job in being able to allow people to understand that you have to go through what you have to go through to get to where you need to get to.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah.
Yep.
The part you talked about earlier, with you arrived here, with a walker. For anyone to have an accident, but the fact that you were a dancer, like that was a thing where you soared. You're right. You have some really success in dancing. You talk about the intersection of religion and life and culture in your book, which is really interesting the way you hold space for that. With being someone who was part of an Orthodox Christian family, growing up in a Muslim culture, and seeing how, like, I mean, I grew up in an evangelical Christian family in the Midwest, and
Mhm.
I've seen like how, like, just how sometimes like tribalism can be with different religions. We talk so what really I appreciate in your book is the spirituality that shines through, and you've had these spiritual awakenings. I feel like over your lifetime. I don't know, like I would kind of feel like if we didn't take advantage of this opportunity to really just hold space for the fact that you had met someone, and you had an expectation, a gentleman, and you thought you were going to be able to spend some time together at your family's garden house, and that was cut short. And I would have been in resentment myself if that had happened at that young age. And shortly after that, you get in your dad's vehicle, as you would probably many a time, and you give the your friend a ride back to his parents' house at a less amount of time that would have been spent with him than you normally thought would have taken place, I
Correct.
guess. And can you walk us through that car ride, like after you dropped him off, and a little bit what happened?
Absolutely. Let me tell you, right before this incident, the accident, I was a dancer and I created this little fun competition that I danced, and it was all Michael Flatley's River Dance and combined. The day before that, I there was very far away from Tehran's court, like south, very far, and I used to go there and give food and bread and things like that to elderly place. And I'm not a religious person. We didn't go to church every day. I do believe something is there. I do believe if it's a person, an energy, whatever you want to call it, I really can care less. But there is watching me. If you don't believe in anything, then I will be concerned. So, but I do not think you need to advertise what you believe to other people's brain. So I kind of don't like, because I grew up with that and I just don't like it. So I wrote in a book and I was like, oh my God, people will think I'm crazy now. So after I go there and I give bread and food to people that they really need, I dance. Everybody says, "Your my God, your legs are so beautiful. The way you did all the dance, the entire 40 minutes or whatever, the beautiful." The next day, I drop off my friend. I'm driving back. There's this big energy, like a light, sitting right next to me. It's an older man with a beard, linen clothes, long white hair. He puts his hand on me. I literally felt my hand is getting cold, and he said, "You're gonna die soon." And I'm driving a stick shift, and you can't go too fast on number one. You gotta. So I am on, and then I pulled over, and then I was like, "What's happening?" And in Iran, 20 years ago, no one wore seatbelt. Seatbelt is not something people wear. Just I'm sure it is okay. They do now. So I looked for the seatbelt, not knowing even the car had one. Pulled it out, push it back in, and I was like, "I'm gonna drive very slow."
Hmm.
I get in the stick. I get in one, and then my car starts turning. And it's a narrow road up on the hill. And if you look down from one side of the hill, it's like you don't see the bottom. So if you go down, you're done. So and it's very dangerous road. Everybody knows about it. So anyway, I'm driving on stick shift, and on the right side of the road, not the left side. Left side is when they drive up. I'm driving down and my car turned. It just felt someone on top is using their hand and they're turning my car. I
Mm.
go to turn it back face down, and my car was turning back towards like my driver's side facing down, and my car starts slipping down, and I don't know, at one point I realized there's a bus coming up, and if I went sliding down, the bus hitting my side, the car was pretty thin car, I would be gone. So I turned the wheels and I went head to head to the bus. Car gets totaled. The steering wheels was inside my belly, attached to the chair.
Mm.
I, I tried to come out from my driver's side. Well, obviously it was the hill, the cliff, so you can't come down. On the passenger side, the dashboards and chairs are together. You can't even get to the door. So I turned the chair down, flipped back, used the back door, passenger side. I jumped out. Nothing happened to me. Literally nothing happened to me. And I waited. The bus drivers were all like shocked because they thought I'm gone. They come down and we start arguing because first they were not arguing. First we were looking, and then we got an argument. And they're like, because I messed up, now they can't drive, and on and on. And next thing I know, another car hit me from the back. My butt was on my car, and my both legs were between the bus and the other car driver. And I didn't know my legs broke.
Mm.
I didn't understand it. They came down, they pulled the cars apart. I fell down. With my butt, I came down. I was like, oh my God, I gotta get up before I die, because there were two drivers. One of them passed, and one leg broke down all the way from hips down. And I just like, oh, better nothing happened to me, I guess. So I got up and I just felt, oh my God, I can stand up. My feet were on backwards, and I was open broken legs. And I do believe I was basically had an opportunity. Listen, I think every human has two lives: is the one
Mm.
they're given to and the ones they realize they should live in. And I think that was it for me. It was like, okay, you danced gymnastic, you went through hell, and you got to school, you pleased everyone. Okay, now that life is over, you get to live again. What do you want to do? And that was where
Mm.
I was like, I'm going to US and I'm not coming back. So it was a tragic, horrible thing. I hope no one goes through it. But if I had to go through that again to come here and have what I have and have this conversation with you and accept myself, I promise you I will do it one more time.
There's a part of the book where you talk about growing up in Iran. Our culture was extremely important. We had to fight to hold on to it, honor and shame and standards, reputation. But then you go on to say, but my culture did not support who I was becoming. So I had to make a decision, either choose my community or me. I chose myself.
Mm.
And I don't and I think that whether you're gay, straight, whoever you are, I think we
Mhm.
all have to choose
Mm.
ourselves, right? In different ways, wherever our truth is. So I think anyone could read this book and resonate with you choosing your truth, if that makes sense. And in talking today about the life you have today is because you've chosen, you talk about also in the book success, right? That there's
Mhm.
no such thing as overnight success, except for maybe when there's luck, when somebody wins the lottery. But other
Mhm.
ways, and you put
And
this
have
in
you met someone like that? Have
good.
you met
Not
someone?
yet.
I'm
I
curious.
haven't.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And so when you talk about that, like whether it was with the dancing for the performances, that it was a lot of work, right? And then when
Mhm.
the actual time to actually do the performance, maybe it was 3 minutes long, but the actual practicing 3 hours a day for weeks on end, right?
Mhm.
And then now with being here in the U.S., how so much of how much work goes into something, and then it's sudden, and then suddenly it just kind of like manifests itself, though, after all the hard work. You grew up with your father as an entrepreneur, but also in your book, for as much as some of the harm that was done by your father, you also give him credit for the good. And I think that what I've learned for myself is that to not to regret the past, or was to close the door on it, because anything like where I've had a disturbance or whatever, I can use that for a strength.
Mhm.
And you take what some people might kind of find is something where it might be I'm a victim, and you turn that into power for yourself. What was it like when you were on that plane, like, leaving for the U.S.? What was that feeling like?
Like the movie Argo.
Mm.
Ah,
Exactly when that happened in the movie, I was in tears because I remembered me. Because when the wheels came up and when the ladies were taking their hijab, or the, I don't know, what do you, hijab off, I felt I took my hijab off. I was
Oh,
like, okay,
yeah.
I'm not coming back. I am, you know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
like, because at one point, see, my dad was very, very wealthy. So when you move here and you have no money and he is extremely wealthy, you think about it. You think about going back.
Yeah.
These are the things I didn't write in a book, but it's like a, don't come back, you don't get it.
Yeah.
And I maid and driver and anywhere, anything, any car, and I'm like, I don't want it. I'll go clean the toilets, which I did to a restaurant. I was like, I'm not coming back.
Mm.
And then you think about it. So the idea, what you asked me, how do you feel, that plain feeling is where you're like, I'm not going back. The people in Iran are amazing, kind, loving, beautiful people. It's the culture that allows, when you have money, you get to, I'm sure not everyone, but you get to dictate what your family's life will be.
Yeah.
And you're a father, that's how it will be. And he's an uneducated wealthy man, so he gets to decide all of it. And I was just wanted to break it. I wanted to not be like that or be stuck with it, so I become like him for my kids. I wanted
Mm.
to break the patterns.
Yeah, the reading about that dynamic of your family, your father, and with you, I know for myself, like I grew up with a very like dominant father, very different, in terms of, how our relationship was from you and your father. But I was able to pick up on like some similar traits where like this domineering, like machismo, patriarchy, kind of feeling where it's like the man of the house, like this idea of having to grow up and be the man of the house, and to also sort of control what happens. And I think, for people that are in that situation, being able to sort of have that experience that you had on the plane where you felt like you could take your job off, it's like just this weight lifted off your shoulders. And it's no amount of money can get you to go back. It just makes no sense. And it then you then start surprising yourself what you are capable of. So it's like, okay, if I have to clean the toilets now, it's like what's the time, what am I doing with my time while I'm cleaning the toilets? What am I thinking about? What am I manifesting? What am I working towards, knowing that this is just a means to an end? I know, like for myself, there were times when, I was building, starting off my business, and, I was bartending because I needed to pay the bills. And it was like, people would say things to me, and, some derogatory things, or like looking down at me
Mhm.
because of what I was doing. And it was like, it doesn't even phase me because I know that I'm here for a limited amount of time as a means to an end. And I think sometimes it's like, it's almost that push that you need to like get over the hump to be able to, create this life. Because in so many ways, we're sort of taught to live in this world where it's like you go to school, you get a job, it's like this
Mhm.
formula. And for people who like yourself, who obviously you don't fit that mold, you broke that
Mhm.
mold, it's almost like you need that big push to be able to do that. You are here in LA. You come to LA, and you land in West Hollywood. So, can you tell us a little bit about what your experience was? Obviously coming from Iran, where it was not, you kind of had to live this like double life, and now you're in West Hollywood and the mecca
Yeah.
of queer culture. What was that like?
Almost embarrassing to share because most people don't get to share, right? And actually, someone asked me, friend of mine, straight woman, and she's been, she's in our culture, and she told me, because like, why did you? Oh my God, you put so much out there of your life, and I
Mm,
said, and I was like, you didn't,
mm,
and she goes like, no. I said, and how's that working out for you?
mm, mm,
And I'm just thinking, was like, what are you going to do to me? It's like, you're going to tell me this happened to you? I already said it. I think there's so much power. So going back to your question, I had a girlfriend, and I remember I had a girlfriend. We went to watch a movie, and there was two guys in front of me, and they were touching each other and holding each other. Nothing like openly having any sex or something, but they were holding each other. I was like looking at them, and I was like something triggered, and then more and more. I would go to a store, and men will look at me, and I was like, and then I would be like, why this man, not the other three standing there? So it was like
Mm.
something was just, here was more open, and they will talk to me. In Iran, we will just hide it until later. So I find my way to West Hollywood,
Mhm.
and then I lived my life in here with my mom and my sister and brother later, and I will have dinner with my girlfriend and be done by 10 o'clock because I need to get to the Abbey, because the Abbey will ID you after 10, and I was not 21. And the Abbey was not what it is today, by the way. Whoever's listening, this was a small place. It was not as popular as today. And then until I got to the point, and I thought I went to the Abbey first time, and I thought, this can't be, everybody here is gay. That's not possible. He's Asian. This guy is big and muscle guy. That one is Middle Eastern. I was like, what do you mean? Like, no, gays are not like so, because I was not gay. I
Mm.
just had sex with men. That's it.
Mm.
It was nothing to do with being gay. And I also still don't think it's very black and white. I don't think you can just be one or not be one. It's like everybody has a different desire. That's a personal life. And but I just thought, I'm just going to go back to what I know
Mhm.
and not shame my family. And
Mm.
until I got to the moment that you said that, Jeff, that I accepted myself. And what that means in my culture, you become selfish. You put yourself
Mm.
first.
Yeah.
Once you put yourself
Interesting.
first, you're selfish.
Yeah.
So I did. I became selfish, took care of myself, and now I'm able to take care of others. But yeah, I met my partner there 18 years ago, and yeah, I don't I my mom forced me to come out. My mom just constantly asked me, who are your friends? Who are your friends? Who are your friends? I'm like, is there something you know and I don't know? And she pushed me so hard. And if you read the book, it's pretty graphic how I came out to her. And that was I mean, she's beautiful right now with my relationships and the supportive, but holy crap, what I went through with her.
Yeah, Harma, I don't want to give too much away of the book, but there is a part in your book that when you arrived and you're living in, I think it was Glendale. Was it? Uh,
Uh,
w-
well, Armenians, they just moved to Glendale
yeah,
first. I
yeah.
don't know why, but yeah.
So what? So that's where you land. And when you started going out to the Abbey
Yeah.
with a friend, and I so identified because I lived in Indiana, and I would go over to Chicago. I would sneak. I'd drive the hour and a half,
Uh-huh.
and I remember. So you talk about in the book that when you finally, you not finally, you quickly, you became self-sustaining. You get a job working at a carpet
Mhm.
factory or a carpet
Mhm.
installation place. You get the job so you can move out on your own because
Mhm.
there was you had some tension in the home. We'll leave that to the book,
Yeah.
but you come back to leave, and your grandmother is crying over the laundry because she's found one of your shirts, and she's because she feels so bad that she shrunk your t-shirt,
Yeah.
and
I
it
had two lives. I
yeah.
was hiding those t-shirts. Yep.
Yeah, and I remember one morning waking up and my mom, like I'd been out, I snuck out to Chicago. I got back in home before my parents would wake up. Like I'd get home like by 5 o'clock in the morning,
Oh,
and my mom was, and I was a teenager, so that you'd sleep in. And my mom was in my room, and she pulled something out, and it was like my gay section of clothes that no one knew about. And she looked at she was so confused about like what was this, And you talk about this compartmentalizing of your life, and you know
mhm.
what, like, but self-centeredness is a real thing, right? Like when we become greedy, you talk so much about instincts in your book and intuition.
Mhm.
And I think those things, when they're right sized, when we get quiet, when we get with whatever source, God, whatever you choose to call it, that
Mhm.
to be honest, to be of service to other people. But I've got to be quiet and be honest with who I am as a person, right? So then, as long as it's safe, like there's levels of
Yeah.
what that looks like for all of
Yeah.
us, where you're at. I will just tell you, your book is a page turner. To anybody who's listening, I could not put it down. And I think part of the reason why it's so good is because you are so vulnerable.
Mm.
You walk through, and honestly, it's like if you didn't do that, it wouldn't have the depth and weight. And I don't think it would be as powerful as it is if you had held that back. Any thoughts on that at all?
When I wrote it, I didn't think I'm being that open because I was just writing what happened.
Ah,
And then when it came out, I started hearing from people, I can't believe you're so vulnerable, or someone like you who will be appreciative so much, or someone who was like culture would be like, holy crap, I can't believe you said that. I was like, I don't know. I just couldn't comprehend, because what has happened, I have developed this skill set that I'm very grateful to have. I move on very fast when something bad happens.
Mm.
And so to me, it's like, well, that happened. I have moved on. Look where I am. But oh, you want to know what happened? Here you go. And why don't you just move on from your thing and just look, you can go to the next chapter if you keep reading the old chapter. And I just didn't realize how open to people. I mean, even my partner goes like, I'm just letting you know, it's all out there. And I was like, what is it's like, I never, if you met me 5 years ago and you asked me, I would just say yeah, I'm the same person here at work, at with my kids. I don't hide.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't comprehend to be a little bit diplomatic or hold back or say different. And then, I had great ghostwriter who was helping me, and he was crying. And one day I was remembering Chicago, uh, I'm having me and Jalop, he was having his martini, and I'm like, come on, come on, come on. I'm flying tomorrow. We got to get to the few more chapters. And he was crying. And it's like, you gotta, John, just because I can't believe this. I was like, listen, you can read this later and cry, but we have to move on. I don't have
Yeah.
time. Like, I can't fly back every weekend here,
Right.
And so, yeah, I'm very proud that what I hear consistent from every single person, that they couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
And it takes like 2 days for a good reader, some people faster,
Yeah.
or a week. It's not something you go back 6 months later. It's
No.
like, oh, I forgot
No.
this,
No.
And I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what you just said, when you take something bad happens to you and you're able to move on really quick, and you said that you've developed this skill set. There's so many people where we just can't move past, something bad happens to us, right? And we just can't move past that. How did you develop that skill set, or where did that skill set come from that you were able to just move right on and move on to the next thing?
Started in a young age. I had to, like for example, what my dad did to me,
Mhm.
I couldn't focus on what he did to me. I had to make sure I move on fast, because I need to make sure my mom will be okay.
Uh,
Right. So it wasn't about me and, oh, and poor me.
yeah,
And also, honestly, I didn't have many people to feel sorry for me or want to listen to me or protected me.
yeah,
And so I learned to be like, okay, get up, get back up. And literally the name is because of that. It's like, okay, get back up. How do you? And I even learned English like that, because when you move here, I was like, I speak Armenian, I speak Farsi, I understand Arabic. It's like, holy crap, none of them matters. You have to learn English. And I was like, I'm not going to surround myself with anyone. So I'm just going to forget about it.
yeah,
Just learn the English, like go in fast, and you can hold on to things. It slows you down.
yeah,
And
Mhm.
I think it's like sending you to an island and burning all the ships, and you either build a new house there and live your life, or build a new ship and leave. So it was no other option. I didn't have in every little things happened to me. I had to just move on very fast.
Right.
That's first day of January. I come in. I have an amazing assistant who helped me with the book and the boxes, and I was like, oh, great! I have someone perfect. Literally motivated, meditated, come in. My business manager goes like, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to him. Like, what? And I'm so happy, excited about the journey of the book being launched, and my business is flourishing. Goes like, assistant quit. And I'm not gonna name who, but I was like, what are you talking about?
yeah.
And I literally everything, the Excel sheet of everyone who's getting the book, when is what's everything was on her.
Oh, wow.
I literally didn't take me more than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I caught
Yeah,
myself,
yeah,
Mhm.
just was like, what the hell? Where did I get that from? I was in my office, closed the door, on my phone, typed something, make sure the grammar is right, spelling is right, and it's not too generic.
yeah,
I copy paste to every single in my phone, from my chiropractor to best friends who lives in Chicago, anywhere, anyone.
yeah.
Next thing I know, I found Gina.
Mm,
And I was like, and I forgot to tell her, I swear to God, I forgot to tell my assistant then that I'm okay. You're
yeah.
leaving. I just forgot. And then I was a week later, I'm like, oh my God, did we talk about when is your last day? Because like, I didn't even know you knew. I'm like, Oh yeah, I'm already looking for someone. Don't worry, I wish you the best. Like I couldn't,
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like so grateful that I have this ability to move on versus 1 week of being upset. Like
Yeah.
how's that gonna help me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that energy that we take, we so much of the life I have is what I'm creating for myself. And
Mhm.
you maybe had like a 3 minute resentment, not even, and you moved on to the solution, right? And you talk in the book, you said, I believe in 5 minute funerals, and that was a 3 minute funeral right there, right? Not even.
More than 5 minutes funeral. Where is that gonna get
Right.
you?
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't like funerals, and I don't go
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to go to it. And my philosophy is wedding or funerals. If you don't have dinners and hang out with these people, or if like there's no need to go unless if it's your best friends, family members. I get that, but if you just out of nowhere show up to someone's wedding because it's a second cousin, and which in my family you just don't like each other, and then you show up on their wedding and then you sit there, and then I was like, I just don't do it. So I learned that from funeral. I'm like, it's 5 minutes funeral. If I have to show up,
Mhm.
I'm just going to show my face that I care, but I really don't know the person who died. I never had dinner with them. I never showed up. I never called them.
Yeah.
So and it's in listings in my business. You're rejected all day long. So it's like
Yes.
Yeah.
lots of 5 minutes funerals and move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, yeah, and we're going to move on. And what I'm hearing is you don't take it personal. It's in choosing yourself. I'm not hearing a lot of selfishness about me, 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 me. Okay, well let's move on. Then the self-centered fear. You have a real estate business that is a testament to your patience and diligence and how you treat other people today. Can we talk about how you got into real estate?
My ex broker was dating my cousin who for a short period of time, and this is when I was I got home one day and I realized my mom was working somewhere for $700 a month.
Mhm.
Fridge was empty, nothing in the was one piece of bread and one egg, and I was like, oh my god, we grew up so wealthy, and I did this, I caused this, and I'm gay now, so I that's the reason we can't go back. I came out. Oh my god, I this was, felt so responsible.
Mhm.
So I asked that broker for a job. I showed up to his office 2 weeks in a row. He was laughing. He was like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Just let me work for a week and you pay me." He did hire me. He gave me $2,000 a month for an assistant. I thought I'm rich. I took my mom to Baja Fresh and we ate lots of, burritos, and we thought like I made it. And then one day he told me, he goes like, how much do you want to make more money? And I thought he was going to give me a raise. And I said, sure. He goes like, how much more? I said like 2,200, 2,500. And he goes like, no, no, more. I said, I was shocked. I was like, is this a tricking me? And then he says, you should make more. I said, I like how much? Because like 25,000 a month. I said, no one makes $25,000 a month. He goes like, yes, they do, and you can. I said, there's no way. I don't know what. Couldn't comprehend. I had no one around me
Mhm.
made that, and or thought like that. Forget about make that. And he said, get your license. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be dentist. He said, no, get your license. I said, oh no, 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 I'm gonna be dentist and I'm gonna be very rich. He goes like, just get your license. He pushed me, and he was very blunt, and I think I learned a lot from him on that. Got my license. A few months into it, I was scheduled to make that, and I put a goal and I start hitting that. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be dentist, but I couldn't say it out loud. And I was like, oh my god, how do I quit that? Like I'm like I love it. It was like I just was just meeting people. People will meet me and they're looking to my eyes, and I'll be like, what condo? What's the price range? Oh, that one is not going to work. This one has to litigate. I knew every building, every like I studied it,
Yeah.
so I memorized it. So when I met someone, the buyer will be like, he knows all of them. So I sold 21 homes on the first year in my real estate,
Wow.
and a few years, 2 years later, I left and I joined a company called Keller Williams, and they told me not to join there because it's a cult. They
Mhm.
clap for each other. They're too happy for each other. It's like a church, and I interviewed everyone except them. I was like, I'm not joining there. Absolutely not. And then I ended up joining there
Mm.
because the one I joined shut down. I just moved across straight to Cal Williams. I had no option like 1 minute. So I was just joined, and I became a team leader manager of a new Keller Williams office. and I became the number one recruiter with Keller Williams nationwide. And then I became the office that I was leading became a most profit shared office, most profitable office in the region. And then I ended up having an opportunity to become an operating principal, which is owner of 5 locations.
Mm.
And then I never stopped selling real estate. And then I ended up opening more ancillary businesses, and just I never done anything besides real estate except leading. The leadership part really helped me to become someone who I am today. I don't think you're just born with it. You've got to have that opportunity to lead, and you have to spend money to. I have had a coach every since I became an agent, and that's my real estate journey.
Yeah. You said, like thinking back on like sort of how you were in this, this process, and how you were so adamant that you were going to become a dentist, and that's what you had your heart set on. And you were like, I'm going to become a dentist. And it was like, that source, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, is like right in your face, in your mentor, and this person right in front of
Mm.
you saying, you need to get your license. And I think, I know for myself, I've had those sort of moments in my own life where it seems like this person appears or something happens that is it's such a strong force that really is pushing you to, to go in one direction. And, so many of us don't listen to that voice, don't listen.
Mm.
Even like you were resistant, it sounded like you were a little resistant at first, but it's, once you, it's just a reminder for myself and everybody listening, that it's not just about what I want. It's what am I supposed to be doing and following this path that's laid out for me. And obviously you've been very successful and it's led to so many things for you. And also, just pointing out too that you said that you've had a coach. And I know for myself that sometimes I've had coaches, professionally as well. And I could see the difference of when there is someone that I have this sounding board, this coach that I'm working with, and when I'm not working with someone. And I could see the difference in my personal life, my business. It shows up. And it's just something to remind myself that
Mhm.
asking for help is not a bad thing. And I think that especially like I'm guessing like in the culture that you grew up in, it was like be the man, you have to figure it out yourself, kind of thing. And for us, it just is something to remember that it's important and it's okay to ask for help and to get that guidance. I know in the book that you do talk about the importance of with the people that are around you, that you give them time to grow and thrive so that you're not just focusing on yourself and everything that's all about you, that you really focus on the people. Can you talk about how you learned that lesson that you need to invest in the people that are working for you, not just, be worried about what you're gaining from the business?
Yeah, my first hire as a team leader, my operating principal will allow me to do, and I was shocked. I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes like, "You make the decision." I was like, so when there was a she and he, both of them, I was like, then I thought about it. Every time I noticed, they're like, "You make the decision."
Mhm.
I didn't make any decision. I start thinking about it. Every time they said no, don't do it, I just went for it.
Mm.
I realized I'm the problem. So I'm just like jumping against whatever that is, unless they put it all on me. So I learned that through my people. So now I have a CEO, I have an operation manager, I have CFO, and every time, trust me, I know the answer. It takes like 2 minutes for me to say it. I just pause and I'm like, well, you decide. It's going to be you.
Mm.
If you don't like them, you're just going to have to fire them. And if you love them, you're going to tell me that you hired, you're going to take the glory. And they just pause. They're like, well, I need to interview more people. I'm like, it's up to you.
Mm.
Because, or they want to come up with a program for the office, and I have done it. I've been doing it for 18 years. I have done things that's like, crap, that didn't work. And I'm like, I pick my battles. If I know this is going to cost me a lot, I will. But sometimes I'm like, you go for it.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
it allows them, I think, more responsibility they have.
Mm.
That's how you invest in them. They learn from it. And earlier, both of you said something, no matter how selfish you become and you want to be good and take care of yourself, if you don't put yourself in the right environment, it's just not going to work.
No.
Yeah.
So when you are, I always jokingly tell my agents, I'm like, hey, do you see your name on the whiteboard? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, because whiteboard is when you get a listing or transaction, I put their names on. They're like, no. I'm like, do you have a coach? They're like, no. I said, well, sounds like you're your own coach
Yes.
and it's not really working out really well. So you may want to fire yourself and hire someone else who can help you get your name on the board.
That's
So,
so good.
right. So it's just like a matter of like, if you are happy where you're
Yeah.
at and you're not complaining, but
Yeah.
you can, and they know, my office knows that you can't come to my office, complain if you have not taken an action to correct it first. So you cannot, like, there's no tolerance. And as a matter of fact, when I was a team leader, a lot of people will complain, and so my real estate is like that. And I used to say, I'm like, you can complain 15 minutes about anything you want, but you have to sit there in 15 minutes to say something good. And people start not coming in. I was like, don't come in. Because it's like, me, this happened and this happened. I'm like, well, at that time I didn't have a book, but I'm like, I have a book to write about. Like, trust me, we don't have time for that. So it pushes back to develop people to say, if you don't have a solution, I don't want to hear the problem.
Mhm.
So I put it back on them. So they take an ownership of it. And it's very interesting. Non-talent cracks and
Mm.
they leave in a minute. And I love that.
Yeah.
Go,
Yeah.
go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no. This is so. I resonate so much with what you're saying, and I think I need to be humble to the fact that like 10 years ago or about 9 years ago, my mom had said to me, she's like, Jeff, she's like, you're going to realize eventually it's not about bad luck, because I was making a lot of bad decisions, and I was like, you know what, like I'm an adult. Jeff Miller Incorporated has been a failure, right, at that time of my life. And once I
Mhm,
admitted I had been a failure, and I started
mhm,
like being open to the fact of having a coach, having
mhm,
someone pointing out in a loving way, meeting
mhm,
weekly and being like, okay,
mhm,
this week I think we've built you up a little bit, but I'm going to point out now this defect or this thing, or am I like, and I maybe I didn't want to hear it that day, but maybe later in the evening in the shower, I would allow for the truth to set in. I'd be like, you know what, he or she, they're right. You know what, this is so true. Now, here's the exciting thing. How am I going to change it? Like that's, and then I got to start living and taking that action, like you talk about. You talk about unsolicited advice in your book. There's a,
That's so many.
right, and here's the thing. Like I've also heard, like, so we're talking about coaches and stuff like that, right? But the thing is,
Mhm,
usually, generally speaking, a coach has something that I want, right? And they're taking the advice as well too. And I've learned that people that are not in the ring, that aren't doing the work, that aren't like down there like getting their knees dirty, I used to give them privy to my thoughts. When they, oh, you're doing this wrong. I'm like, wait a minute, you're not in this until you start, until you start really, if you're in the ring with me, then yeah, I'll listen to you. But those people that are sitting on the sidelines,
mhm.
I you know,
So my question to you will be, whose fault is that? If you go to those people on the sidewalk
oh,
and ask them question,
Mhm.
is it their fault they open their mouth or is your fault you go to them?
well, that's a good point there, right? Yeah. So I mean,
Mhm,
I think it's two things, because you have people that will. There's two things. I can go to the person and ask, and people
mhm.
can come to me with unsolicited advice,
Correct.
right? And then,
Correct.
so what's my part in both those situations?
Exactly. And that's what I noticed recently. I wrote it as like, you get advice from unsolicited people. And then I was like, hold on a second. I noticed it's not just them talking, these people are going to them. It's like,
Yeah.
because,
Ah,
but if you're busy doing what you need to do, you
yes,
won't go to those
Right.
people. You
yeah,
will find a
Right.
coach.
yeah.
So yeah, it takes two people on that. And again, I was sitting with a group. They were talking. None of them had real estate company. None of them owned their own businesses. One of them owned his own business, but small, two people. And they were talking about Subway franchise, McDonald's franchise, Minchies and Pinkberries and Remax on real estate. And they're just talking. And they looked at me. They're like, so what do you think? I was like, I no idea. I never looked into it. They're like, well, what do you think, Subway? I was like, well, I can't say anything. I don't never owned it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't even know what Subway franchise is. And they all had so many opinion how that's not good. Subway, you need to have few. McDonald's is this. And I was like, they're like, well, I, they're like, what about Keller Williams? I'm like, honestly, I don't even know mine. I barely know my office. I don't even focus on Michigan, what they're doing. I don't even know my franchise agreement will be due. What does that mean? I don't know. I said, I'm just know I'm the number one in the region. That's it.
Yeah.
And they're like, and I was just looking at it, it's like, how interesting. They get fed off of each other's opinion, but no one talked
Mm,
about what they're good at. They
Yeah.
won't talk about the things.
Yeah.
And just again, I put myself in that environment. I realize I'm with the people that we're talking about things. I'm not learning anything.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
don't want to learn about Subway.
Yeah.
It might be a good thing to know, but I don't want to know. Like,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Following your interests there. That all makes, I know that when I'm surfing, it's so much better when I'm on my own surfboard on the waves I want to be catching. And I really appreciate just this. I could talk about this kind of stuff for hours with you, but we want to be respectful of time and honor all the. Just kind of touch on something else that you've done that I think is really inspiring. You're a father today.
Mhm.
You have kids, and that's part of also what in your book, knowing about just your emotional intelligence and life, and just now that you're able to be a dad. What's that experience been like?
Amazing. I mean, yeah, amazing. If you ever want to be a father, don't wait. There's no timing. I hear a couple of my friends, they want to have kids and they're like, maybe in a year when I'm ready. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Knowing what I know today, I still will do the same time. My partner wanted to wait. I was like, I don't, by now I've been reading my book. When I want something, I just go for it. So, but he goes like, thank God you didn't make us wait. It gave me a bigger purpose. I can't
Mm.
remember what was the first purpose that I wanted to have more in life. Right now, I have more on my plate. I have more to show, and I have them and I spend time with them. So I don't know how I was not doing more before that because I should
Mm.
have been more productive.
Mm.
I am so comfortable to say no to things when it's wasting my time. Before I would just stay in the office at 9 o'clock and spend time with someone who's never going to get me to the next level.
Mm.
So they have taught me to not judge others. Oh my
Mm.
God, I used to judge anyone with kids. I was used to tell them, oh, I will never do that. That's not how you do it. It's like, now I'm like, dude, whatever you think is best. I mean, I definitely, I learned from so many other parents what to do with my kids, what or not to do.
Mm.
We're not very scared. We let them, when they fall, we don't run and grab them. If they're not hurt badly, I wait for them to get up and I engage with them
Mm.
to what happened when they fell so they don't fall again. I want them to be disappointed by age of 18 as much as possible
Mm.
so they don't get hurt at the age of 21 like some of my fat cousins and friends. They have said that, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to me. It's like, you're 21.
Mm.
Yeah.
So much should have happened to you by now.
Yeah.
I don't know what we will do. I do know my kids speak multiple languages. They're very kind. I have the kids back to back, so they're very close in age. So I will never, if I know what I know today, not have another one today. No way. This is it. Like if you're having it back to back or don't have it, it's painful. It is joy. It's joyful, but I wouldn't say it's not challenging.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
It,
life, right? I mean, I just, Anthony and I are able to see you through technology today,
Mhm.
and to people that are listening, and obviously you can hear this in Harma's voice. Just the peace that you have about you
Mhm.
is contagious, right? And I think that goes back to you being happy and honest with who you are, and then you're able to be a better version of yourself, and we all benefit from that. Anthony and I were both wondering because Anthony's written a couple of books, but I haven't. And I was just wondering what has we actually were both wondering this, but what has writing this book taught you about yourself, maybe that you didn't know before?
Wow. Great question. Didn't get this one before. It has taught me that this is just the beginning. That energy that we talked about earlier has when I am in peace and I'm happy. I was just in Hawaii and
Mm.
just I love Hawaii. It's like I go once a year. I'm very just connected somehow to that any islands up there. But that energy has told me that this is the accident and 20 years and now I'm turning 40, something else is cooking, something is going to happen,
Mm.
not accident, something big that is going to be huge. I feel it. And I do think the book helped me.
Mm.
I can't figure out what it is. I am really don't know. I just felt it yesterday. I told my best friend via text. I was like, just we both were texting about it. Just like my partner thinks I should write another book already. I was like, are you kidding me? I can't even breathe. I have so much going on. He goes like, you need to write the leadership book. It's not going to be personal. It's going to be about
Mm.
business, not real estate, but business and all the failures of leadership I have gone through. But I don't know. I wrote the book as a letter to my kids, and now it turned out to be a book.
Mm.
So, but I do think there's a something bigger in a sense of it's not money. Trust me. I mean, Anthony, you know that writing a book is not going to pay for your living. So
No.
people like, oh, you sold 1,000 on the first week. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you know how much I got paid?
Yeah.
Like that's, I mean, I don't know how people write books
Yeah.
and they continue doing that. And like, I'm an author. I'm like, I feel so
Yeah,
sorry.
it's a
Like,
lot.
you have another job. Like,
So much
I
work.
was like, how but I created jobs by writing this book because I hired a publicist,
Yeah.
the editor, but just to go back, I think something bigger and more, something that was going to fulfill my 40s to 50s. And it's hopefully something bigger will come out.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this overarching theme of your like willingness to be who and what you are in life and give back. And I'm not going to say anything else. I want people to be able to enjoy the experience of reading the book as we both did without giving too much away. But it has just been a pleasure and a joy. And we so thank you for writing the book.
Oh,
It
thank
was
you.
so needed, and it's both been beneficial to both of us, and we really encourage everyone. We're going to have links online on our website to the book and to all things to connect with you. Once again, Harma, it has just been a joy to be with you today, and we look forward to following what's next in life for you.
I appreciate you both. Thank you.
The overarching theme in Harma's story is to embrace the good and the bad that happens to us and move on. If we dwell on it or stay in the past, we'll miss the opportunities of today. To get your copy of Harma's book, Getting Back Up, visit our website at www.talkoutloudlive.com and visit his profile page. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talk Out Loud. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe, rate us, and share with a friend. You can also follow us on social media at Talk Out Loud Live. If you or someone you know has an inspirational story and a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us on our website at www.talkoutloudlive.com. On our website, you can also catch up on past episodes, learn more about our past guests, and browse their profiles. You can also get your official Talk Out Loud gear in our online store and browse our online bookstore curated with our guests' recommended books. Thanks again for listening, and remember, be true, be you, and to talk out loud.